Closing.
5 miles to bring them home 5 days a week.
Garfield is next.
I got a car because I was spending 2
Doors
hours
open on the right at Garfield.
2 hours in transportation.
Transfer to Greeline trains to 63rd and Cottage Grove at Garfield.
Around the neighborhood, kids are cursing, yelling, fighting, not learning anything, no good books, all the stuff that make the school a place you don't want your kids. That's the school that's around my neighborhood. And it's messed up because I can look right out the window and see an elementary school that I love my kids to go to, but it's not a good school. So why can't my kids have a good school that they can walk to? Why I gotta go 5 miles to put my kids in a good school? Why our map gotta look like this, you know? This ain't right, and I'm not standing for it anymore. And there's hundreds of parents that think just like me. On December 3rd, it was a teaching. 500 parents, teachers, and staff came together to figure out what are we gonna do about it. A lot of the parents, a lot of the teachers decide what they're going to do is occupy school. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to do that. How we're going to go into one of these schools and take possession of it as our own. So that's the kind of stuff we're working to do. Because leaving it up to the government, leaving it up to the mayor, leaving it up to city council, leaving it up to all those other people, you know, it just doesn't solve the problem, right? They haven't done anything this far, so they ain't gonna do anything unless we make them. And other people make them. That's why there's no dots in the light areas and there's all these dots in the dark areas. So I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. And my youngest child is in 1st grade, so I'm supposed to fight for the next 11 years to get in a good school. Why? I pay taxes. I do what I'm supposed to do. I'm raising them. I'm involved. I teach them right from wrong. So I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do as a parent. The teachers, not every parent is doing that. That's true. But you know, I think this has pissed off a lot of parents to the extent that they're willing to do things. I'm seeing parents around involved that were never involved before. Because guess what? When your kid's school is the one being closed, then all of a sudden you care. When it's someone else's school, it's their problem. When that school, that's their problem. But when it comes to be your school and your kids are telling you, I'm not going to school because of them GDs or BDs or vice versa, whoever going to whoop my ass if I go, you know, now all of a sudden it's that parent's problem too. There's a big difference between the quality of schools in our neighborhood and the quality of schools in other neighborhoods. And for them to say our schools are ones that's misperforming, our schools are the ones where kids can't do well. Look at performance based on what they're getting. If you don't have the tools to learn, how can you do well on a test that you never were able to prepare for? It's like if you gave me a box with a puzzle in it, but I don't have a picture of the puzzle, but you tell me I need to put this puzzle together, and if I don't, I get a bad grade. Well, I don't know how this puzzle goes. I don't know the pieces of the puzzle. I don't know what the picture looked like, but I'm supposed to be held to the same standards as this kid who got the box, who has the picture of the puzzle, and who got the frame filled in for him, right? And that's the difference between what's going on in our schools and what's going on in other people's schools. And the difference is these parents are more organized than we are.
So we're on the Greeline tonight.
We're on the Greeline tonight.
Where are you going with all of this dialogue?
I am carrying myself right down to the
Transfer to Greeline trains to 63rd and Cottage Grove at Garfield.
They're having a visual and a speak out tonight to keep these schools open and to keep the teachers in their jobs and keep the staff in their jobs.
Doors closing.
Because something else that people don't think about when you close down these schools, it's not just the teachers that's hurt. There's coaches there. There's staff there. There's the lunchroom lady. There's the janitor. There's the custodian. There's all kinds of people who live not working in a school environment. And all the people don't lose their jobs because they're getting turned around or closed down. And again, keep going back to the map. This is only happening in our community. Not one school in a light blue area. The darker the area, the darker the people. And those are ones who are being targeted. Not one school is in a light blue area. And this is what they're trying to get past us. So that's why I'm going downtown to a board hearing right now. That's why I'll be speaking out at 6 a.m. in the morning to make my voice heard. The board headquarters, 125 South Clark Street, 6 p.m. tonight to 6 a.m. in the morning. We're going to be holding it down, waiting for them to open the doors so all these angry parents can have their voices heard. So all these misplaced teachers will have a chance to speak their mind. So all the students who are able to attend can come down and say, I want my school to stay open. I can't go to another school. I don't want
you were about to say something about turnaround schools. It sounded like a good idea.
This is 51st.
Well, the school board designs it to sound like a good idea. When you think of a school being turned
Doors
around,
closing.
you think, okay, it's going to go from being a bad school to being a good school.
Turn
We're
around
going to get some
good
good people. No. What's going to happen is they're going to close the
47
school,
is next.
fire everyone who works for
Doors
it,
open
and
on the
then
right
you
at
get
47.
to apply for a job you already have.
Soliciting
A lot
and
of times you
gambling
wind up
are
making less
prohibited on
money than you
CTA
made
vehicles.
before they turned it around. Sometimes you're not going to get your job back after they turn it around. The who? That's a common misperception. They actually got people with lower degrees that they had to pay less money
With
to.
less experience.
Less experience. So you have a teacher who just graduated from this little training program, and they come into a classroom in our neighborhood and they freak out because they haven't had any real experience around black youths. They're like, oh my God, they're gonna kill me. Oh, and they don't know how to deal with it. Whereas you have a veteran teacher who's been around young children from our communities, and they know the games, they know the BS, and they know when a kid is being legitimate. They know how to talk to them. They know what's being taught to, what's being said to them. They can understand. There's a relationship that's formed there. But if you have a new teacher who have no teaching experience and are put into a school that's slated to be closed down, it's a recipe
This
for
is
disaster.
47.
So when you turn around a school and you put all these inexperienced, uneducated people in, and when I say uneducated, I don't mean you don't have a degree. I mean you don't know what's
Doors
going on with
closing.
these students because you haven't had that experience.
I put it out.
So what you need to do is have your voice heard and stand up for your school. So again, these turnarounds, it sounds like a good idea, and in theory maybe it is.
43rd
to
is
be able
next.
to take a school from
Doors
underperforming
open
to
on the
achieving
right
high.
at
That would be
43rd.
good, but that's not what's happening. And that's another
Priority
thing
seating
that's
is
being
intended for
done.
elderly
Our schools
and
are being
passengers
sold
with
out to
disabilities.
corporations. So
Your
now you have a
cooperation is
corporation in
requested.
charge of what goes on in the school. Out of the CPS board, only one member has ever even taught in a classroom, but they're making the decisions on the kids in our communities. You've never taught in a classroom in our community, you've never been to our community, and you don't know what's going on, but you're the one who's making the decision on where my kids go to school and how they're taught, what funding is given to them? I don't think so. I think the best people to make those decisions are right there in the trenches. The parents, the students, and the teacher. That's the holy trinity when it comes to public education. Not the board, not the CEO, and certainly not the mayor. So that's where we come in. We're going to have our voices heard. Next Wednesday at 6 p.m. we're going to be meeting at the Chicago Public Library on 36th and State. We're going to be discussing how we're going to occupy and take over the schools in our communities. Because it's obvious after years and years and years of seeing the map getting bluer and pinker, after all this, we're fed up, and now is the time to act. So we're going to be acting, we're going to plan, and over the next 8 weeks, we're going to launch a campaign to make CPS take notice of the angry parents, teachers, and students who are being affected by these school closures and school turnarounds.
This is 43rd.
So join us next Wednesday, 6 p.m., Chicago Public Library, if you're interested in saving your school.
Doors closing.